Thinking about self-publishing and don't know where to start? Join the Spa Girls each week for 30 minutes of honest advice, tips, and resources. I'm Trudy J, and I am here with Shah Barrett.
Hi there.
Cheryl Phipps.
Hi there.
And Wendy Vella.
Hello.
Hello. And this week we have a very special guest. We've got the delightful Rachael Herron.
Woohoo!
Whoop, whoop, whoop. Welcome, Rachel.
I'm so happy to be here. Oh my God, I can't tell you.
We're happy you're
Because
here.
not just are you here with us in the spa, but you're here with us in New Zealand.
Yay.
I am actually in a spa of sorts right now. As we
That's taking things very loosely, isn't it?
I don't know if I want to tell people where you actually are or not.
Yeah. I am in MIQ, Managed Isolation Quarantine, and I'm in the Sudima Hotel, and I'm currently in the bathroom because we just have a teeny tiny room, and my wife is out there doing her day job, and I requisitioned the bathroom. So it is kind of a spa. I mean, it's got a beautiful tub in which I'm basically living right now. And I was telling the women before we started that I'm just going from meal to meal, but the real truth is I'm going from meal to bath to meal to bath. So,
well, changing it up a lot.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Awesome. So I'm going to quickly read your bio, and then we're going to get into the questions, which we will about anti-procrastination tips and things like that. But I'm sure that lots of other things will come up as we talk.
As they do.
Rachael Herron is an internationally best-selling author of more than 24 books, including thriller, mainstream fiction, feminist romance, memoir, and nonfiction about writing. She received her MFA in writing from Mills College, Oakland, and she teaches writing extension workshops at both UC Berkeley and Stanford. She is a proud member of the NaNoWriMo Writers Board. She's also a New Zealand citizen as well as an American citizen, hence moving to New Zealand. Awesome. So let's start a little bit about your background and how you got into writing and then how you got into self-publishing. Go.
Fabulous. Well, first of all, seriously, thank you for having me on the show because I am a fan of the show. The fact that Shar knew who I was when I reached out, I was just so
Are you kidding? It was a fangirl moment for me. We've been listening to How Do I Write for a long time. So yeah.
Thank you. Well, and just to be able to do this as my very first piece of writing business in New Zealand with a New Zealand podcast with people. I mean, I'm thrilled. I'm totally thrilled. So how did I get into writing? Always wanted to be a writer, that boring story, proceeded to really kind of flame out in college and not, everybody told me I couldn't be a writer. So I went into business and therefore spent, 73 years in college trying to get a degree. Eventually changed to English, graduated, went and got a master's in writing. And then the creative, the critique process in that creative writing program just broke me completely. And I proceeded to try to write, but not really write for the next 7 years.
Wow.
I started things over and over and over again, but I'd never finished one thing. My particular MFA program didn't require anything on exit. I think I had to have 100 pages of a book, but it didn't require a novel or anything like that. It didn't teach me how to revise. It didn't teach me anything about marketing. It didn't teach me anything about the business of being a writer. So I flailed around for a long time. And then in 2006, my sister told me about National Novel Writing Month. And for those few of you listening who might not know what that is, it's an online LARC challenge where you write 50,000 words in the month of November. So a nice slim Hemingway length book you write in November. And she told me about it. And I told her I would never stoop to something like that because I was a serious literary writer. And then she left. She drove away, and I immediately started Googling, and I thought to myself, I'm not finishing anything. Why don't I just try this? And I knew that if I was going to write something that fast, that it would have to be something that I loved instead of my pretentious ambitions, which really got boring after a while. I'd have to write something I was passionate about. And I'm passionate about romance and love and all of that. And I'm also passionate about knitting in a big way. Come by it honestly. You know, my mother was raised on a sheep farm outside of Ashburton, and my, you know, grandmother was the biggest knitter in the world, and it kind of skipped my mother and landed on me. So I wrote this romance about a sheep rancher and a knitter, and the tagline was, they both need wool, but not to generate heat because they generate enough of their own. And you know, and it was the most exciting thing I had ever done writing wise, because I was writing every day. I was writing 1,667 words every day, and I had never done anything like that. And I knew that what I was writing was garbage. But for the very first time, I think I hit like 50,003 words on the last day, tied it up with a bow, the end. And I had never written the end before. And it was one of the best moments of my life. And then I just put it away. I didn't think about it for 6 or 8 months. Somebody asked me about it because there was a contest for like a first romance novel that was going on. And I thought, oh, I'll look and see how bad that was. And it was terrible. It was really, really bad. But there were these moments of really, really good. There were moments of the best writing I'd ever done because I'd gotten out of my editor's way. Finally, that cruel inner editor had shut up for a while and allowed me to finish this book. So I revised it, and I really didn't know how to revise, but I did a good enough job that I sent it out to agents and ended up getting an agent and a 3-book deal at auction with HarperCollins for my first book. So that turned into the first book I ever sold. And
can you tell us?
Ever since then, I have embraced that model of writing fast all the way to the very end of a book. And because I don't think you really know what a book wants to be until the end. And there are so many people, we could talk more about this if you want, but there are so many people, so many writers who get so frustrated because they write the first 7 chapters and then they go back and fix something, and then they write the 8th chapter and then they go back and fix something. And then they live in those chapters forever. But that's so harmful because they don't know what the book needs to be yet. And also they've made now these chapters so beautiful and so good that if they need to be taken out to further the story or the story structure, you can't see that. You're married to it now because it really is excellent writing. It's gorgeous writing. How could you possibly lose that? So I always teach my students and talk a lot about how if you believe revising as you go is your process, because so many of us are perfectionists, so many writers are perfectionists. If you believe that revising as you go is your process, it is only your process if you are revising as you go and you are finishing good books that you publish. And if you're not, then you're just like the 99% of the rest of us who we just need to make a crap first draft and then fix it later.
Yeah.
So so Nano, I'm just passionate about Nano. I'm on the writer's board, as you mentioned. And it's literally life-changing. I've dedicated books to NaNoWriMo because it got me in this industry. Since then I published, I think I'm writing my 27th or 28th book now. And I still traditionally publish, right now I'm traditionally publishing thriller. And I'm going to give a memoir to my agent to try to sell. But I have to tell you, ladies, that I am all about self-publishing in 2021, 2022.
Yeah.
I'm really seeing, for the last few years, I've made more every year from my self-publishing than I do from New York. Even, I can't make it work financially in New York,
Yeah.
The self-publishing is where it's at. And I just got the rights back to my first 5 books in that series. So
wow.
very excited
Congratulations.
that I get to self-publish those now. So that'll be great.
Awesome.
It's so cool.
It is so cool. And did you have to actually confess to your sister that she was right? Like, did you have to kind of pay amends to,
She let you forget that, or is it still that still comes up?
Never let me forget that because it was one of the biggest life-changing moments of my life. And I told her she was wrong at first. So she just, I get to
you get to relive that all the time
for the rest of my life. Yeah. And gratefully so.
Yeah.
And when was this?
That was 2006.
Right.
And I revised the book and sent out for agents in 2008 is when I was looking for an agent. And then my first book came out in 2010.
Right.
So I've been published for 11 years now.
Okay.
Wow. Cool.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Very cool.
Yeah, I reckon.
Okay. You tell a story, I think, somewhere on about that first trad pub deal, how it sounds really cool. It's like 3 books, 6-figure deal. Da, da, da. Can you tell us what that actually meant in reality
Yes,
for you?
I can. And I don't want to, I appreciate you asking that. And I also just want to like tell all the listeners to like gird their souls, because 6-figure deal, 3-book deal, all of my friends, I was still working. I was a 911 dispatcher for fire and medical for 17 years while I was writing. And I wrote for 10 of those years. So I was kind of overlapping jobs. And all of my friends in dispatch were like, well, why don't you just quit? But I had done the math. And after taking out for regular taxes, and then the US has a self-employment tax, which is another 15% on top of your normal taxes that you have to pay. And then my agent, blessedly so, gets 15%. You know, she deserves every penny of it. And I would deliver a book a year at that point. So I would get paid in chunks. So that 6 figures, I think it was 106,000 when we closed. If I'm remembering that right. And so over the course of those 3 years, I brought home $15,600 a year. And I lived in the Bay Area. I lived in Oakland, right outside San Francisco. I could not survive on $15,000 a year. That is what I took home every year for 3 years after taxes and agents' fees. So it's heartbreaking, isn't it, to kind of think that? Like you hear 6-figure 3-book deal. It was the princess sweetheart deal. It's like all the dreams come true. But it also means that you just keep writing, and you just keep writing, and you just keep going. Yeah. Thanks for asking.
So many people say that.
Yeah. The reality, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it gives you the motivation, right? It gives you, someone out there thought it was amazing, and then it gives you something, I guess. Maybe
absolutely. And I still am, and I'm still so grateful. So grateful for that every moment. And I've actually made bigger deals since then. And I'm always 100% grateful, but I will also confess to all of you that all of the big deals I've ever gotten in the United States, I never earn out. And what earning out means that you have basically the publisher is placing a gamble on you. They're giving you an advance, and they're hoping that you sell enough books to earn out that advance. And then after you earn out that advance, after you earn the money that they gave you in advance, then they'll start paying you more money as the books sell. I have never hit that. I have done that with Random House Australia and HarperCollins Australia. So those contracts have earned out. But in the United States, I'm always not making more money, which is why I love self-publishing.
So you make more on your self-publishing than you do on your trade.
Yeah. And there was an interesting thing that happened. So for the first 3 books, for HarperCollins, they were series, and they did okay in the States, but I didn't earn out, like I said. But Random House Australia bought them separately because my agent kept the rights and resold. They sold really well in Australia and New Zealand, really, really well, best-selling. And they wanted 2 more. So a total of 5 books in the series. And HarperCollins just laughed. They did not want 2 more. So I was in this really interesting position around 2012 or so, right when self-publishing was kind of heating up, that I said, so wait, I can write for you. You guys will pay me in advance. I'll be edited by this amazing editor at Penguin Random House. And then I can publish those books everywhere else in the world, just not in Australia and New Zealand. And that's how I got into self-publishing. So this books 4 and 5 in this series, I had control of for everywhere else. And that's kind of where I saw how great self-publishing can really be. And it was this beautiful kind of sweetheart deal that I got the editing done. And then that's how I learned how to get covers and how to hire a copy editor to take out all the extra U's that Americans trip over.
Yeah.
But isn't it funny how things, well, not funny, but isn't it lovely how things work out for the best? Because if HarperCollins US had have wanted those, you wouldn't have had that experience, so everything kind of builds on other things, doesn't it?
Everything always builds on other things. Yeah. And because of it though, like I have loved being published down here in the Antipodes, and it just even more makes the move more exciting.
So clearly that genetic memory of your family is in there, and it's recognized by the audience in the Southern Hemisphere.
It must be that. Plus that whole series was about knitting and sheep. So,
Why wouldn't it go well then down here?
Exactly.
Can you talk about like what are some of the big differences that you see? Because you're in both worlds, from traditional to self-publishing. Like if people are,
Well, we have to kind of talk about it in today's terms. So I had a book come out. When did it come out? In March. It's called Hush Little Baby. No, maybe it was April. Came out in hardcover. There is no one shopping for hardcover books in the States right now. That people still aren't going out very much. They're really staying inside. Barnes and Noble has opened, but I don't know if the book got co-op there, and co-op is where the publisher buys you a placement on one of those front tables where it says new release, or, you'll enjoy this. So I don't think it got any of that. Nobody in the States, none of the big vendors in the States picked up Hush Little Baby. So I didn't get Target or Costco or anything like that. So it just didn't sell well. Plus the ebook is $14.99 US. So that's really expensive. And on top of that, the traditional, here's the problem, I think, is traditional can't offer us much in terms of marketing that we don't already do for self-publishing. We're already experts in doing that in self-publishing. What they do, one of the things I love that traditional does is that they will send the finished copies out to all the bookstagrammers, and bookstagrammers just have their finger on the pulse, don't they? Like they know what they love to read, they know what they love to share, and their readers, their fans are ravenous for more books. So that's fabulous. And I love that traditional does that. But I just really believe that the traditional publishers don't know any more than we do about building and making a bestseller. If they did, they'd make all their books bestsellers, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
They're just as confused as we are about
absolutely.
how to do this. So in a very real way, I'm really kind of reluctant to put much more fiction in their hands, because I know now I know a little bit more about how to sell fiction, and I'm not sure if they do right now with the pandemic, with everyone switching. Have you guys heard that statistic that it used to be in the United States that 70% of all books sold, of all new books sold, were front list. So they were the books that had just come out from the publishers. During the pandemic, that switched to 70% backlist.
I hadn't heard
Oh,
that.
no, I did not hear that.
It's huge.
Huge turn. And it makes absolute sense. If you're sitting at home and you're one of the people who has never had a Kindle, but now you got a Kindle because it's the pandemic and you're learning how to use Amazon and getting these books, every book is frontlist to you. Every single book is frontlist. You've never seen it before. And the world is full of books. So yes, 70% backlist. So traditional is really struggling and floundering. And that kind of breaks my heart because, I love a bookstore. That's my favorite place to be. But I feel like as self-published authors, we are absolutely the best placed for meeting this new world of books.
Yeah, totally.
It's interesting. You've blown, for a lot of listeners, I'm sure, 3 myths. The first myth was that you need a degree to be able to be a writer. And I mean no disrespect to you, Rachel. It's just I see that sometimes on forums, particularly with some younger writers saying, do I need to go to college to learn how to write?
Oh God.
So there's that one. The second one is the sweetheart deal, the 6-figure publishing contract isn't necessarily livable, in real terms. And the third thing is that traditional publishing will do, you just write and they'll do all the marketing for you better than you could do. So just want to kind of recap those, because that's often some of the assumptions that I see, and it's really good having it from, somebody that's actually experienced those things. It's a genuine, real life lived.
And these are
right.
rules that were fed that just aren't rules, and every one of those I could push even harder against. I regretted my master's for I still kind of mostly regret my master's. The thing I really like about it is that I was able to teach at Berkeley and Stanford, and I should take that off my bio. I just realized, because I can't do that now. I mean, I could do it. I'm not going to do it. No more Zoom. No. But that was a waste of money. I really enjoyed the time in the ivory tower, spending 2 years with other writers, learning how to craft beautiful sentences, which I knew nothing about how to, what to do with them when I had them. But that was 50 grand that took me 15 years to pay off.
Yeah.
You know, did I need that? I absolutely didn't need that. And I will say this, I learned more in my first 2 years with Romance Writers of America back in 2008 when I joined. I learned more from them in those first 2 years than I did my entire college career about writing and the business of writing.
And I just want anybody that's not a romance writer, I just want to shout out that the romance writers were really at the forefront of many initiatives in terms of publishing and knowledge and networking, because it's mostly women and they're very good at that kind of thing. But also from the marketing perspective, you know, there's some very, very savvy writers there. So anybody, I mean, nobody listening to this podcast now would do that. But when I occasionally still see online, you know, poo-pooing the romance writers, it's like, dude, you are just missing out on.
They know everything. They know everything.
A lot of the guys know that, though. You know, when I went over to London, I met Mark, and
The
he was
switched
one of the
on
ones
ones
who
do,
said to me, "Hey, he
the
said to
switched
me,
on ones do.
if you want to learn anything, get into the writing and romance writers community because they know,
Yeah.
they know what they're talking about."
Yeah.
It used to be that I would encourage anybody, even if they were writing a like dark science fiction, space, robots with no romance whatsoever, I would tell them to join RWA as an associate. Since the collapse of 2020, I don't say that anymore.
No.
Same.
But I'm very excited about Romance Writers of New Zealand.
Yeah.
We're excited to have you.
We are
I'm just
thrilled
saying.
to have you. We have a vibrant and active writing community here in New Zealand, and super happy to welcome you.
Let's move on to NaNoWriMo, just as a complete change of topic, just because that's what I do. Because NaNoWriMo is something like I've done NaNoWriMo. Have you guys all done NaNoWriMo?
I've done it.
Oh, you've all done it. Great.
I haven't finished it. I haven't.
That's okay. That's okay.
I finished it.
Yeah, I did too. But I've only done it once, I must admit.
Yeah, I did it
I
once
probably
as
should
well.
do it more, but
And it's such a great tool to get people off that. Like you talked about that kind of ivory tower kind of thinking versus just getting it done thinking. So I love that, because I think that's a big part of actually what holds a lot of people back from, you know, getting it done basically. So can you talk about that kind of stuff a little bit, please?
Yeah, I think that and this kind of goes to the anti-procrastination stuff that we were going to talk about too. I think the biggest thing that keeps writers from writing is fear. It all boils down to fear, I think, on a really base level. And the fear is inherent, the fear is inescapable, and the fear will never, ever, ever, ever go away. And I know that for myself, for a very, very long time, much longer than I should have, I kept waiting to write because I wanted to become a better writer first. Like when I was a better writer, when I knew I was a better writer, I would start writing, because what I would do is I would let myself down. There's Ira Glass, who's the host of This American Life, has this theory of the gap. And we are writers because we have incredible taste. We love writing. We love reading. We are the best readers in the world, and we know great writing when we see it. And then we write a few sentences. And because we have incredible taste, we can see that we are letting ourselves down in every single way, and we suck. And that is a deep existential pain that is uncomfortable. And I will always choose eating chocolate and watching Netflix over dealing with that existential pain, right? All human beings are trying to avoid suffering, and writing a lot of the time is suffering. And so what Nano does is it puts this spin of two things. It puts a spin of play on it, because they're not trying to get you to write good words. They're just trying to get you to write any words. Some people stop using contractions while they're writing their Nano, because then instead of don't, they get a do not. That's 2 words for the day. And we're not trying to be good during NaNoWriMo. We're switching that off. And also it's gamifying it. It's a challenge. You want to hit 1,667 words a day. There's all sorts of things like reverse Nano, where you start with really high word counts, like you do 4,000 words the first day, 3,900 the second day, and then by the end, you're not writing that much at all. But it's this gamification and play that shuts up the part of the brain that says you suck, you suck, you suck, you suck, you're a terrible writer, we hate you, you're never going to amount to anything, your mother's going to see this, you'll have a heart attack and die out of shame. And it just shuts it up. And for that reason, and I think it's really broken things open for so many writers, because we have that feeling, even if you don't win. To win NaNoWriMo, you hit 50,000 words. I do Nano every year since 2006. And I probably only won half of the time, maybe less, maybe fewer. But every time I get more words done in November than I would have if I wasn't playing along with this lark, with this challenge, telling myself every day, these words don't have to be good, they just have to be done. And, you know, you're writing the words, and you're that smart brain of yours, that smart, excellent, full of taste brain of yours says, wow, that sucks, that sucks. And then every once in a while, a sentence or two will fly out and land on the page, and you go, oh my God, that's brilliant. That's the best thing that's ever been written.
Yeah.
And probably neither of those two feelings are true. You're not doing the best writing you've ever done, and you're not doing the worst writing that anyone in the world has ever completed either. The truth is somewhere in the middle, and you're getting words done, and you're getting clay on the wheel that then you can shape into something later with revision. So for me, that's one of the biggest anti-procrastination tools, is telling myself that today, just like yesterday, I'm going to write garbage. I call it trash mountain. First draft is trash mountain. That's all I'm building. I'm just trying to build up a body of words, and they really, 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 truly don't have to be good. And that allows me to get to the page a little bit more frequently than otherwise.
Yeah.
Wow,
Wise
cool.
words.
Really good.
And I have to admit, it's very true for me too. Like, as soon as I got out of my own way and just said the first draft didn't matter, that's when it started flowing more easily.
Yeah.
It's so ironic, and it's true for everyone. It really is.
My first draft is horrific.
Yeah.
I would die if someone saw my first
Oh,
draft. Have you ever heard
same.
Jenny Cruzy has a term called the truck draft? My whole goal in life is always to get my manuscript that I'm working on into the truck draft, which is that if you were hit and killed by a truck, somebody else could pull it out of your computer, fix it up, and you wouldn't have to die again out of shame, and they could publish it. So yeah, but between the zero draft and the truck draft, there's a lot of mess.
How long does it take you to do that? So how long? So you could maybe write a book in a first draft in a month. How long do you spend on the revision, and what do you do there?
For me, I can write a book in a month, and I choose not to. I usually, when I'm working on a first draft of something, it's usually about 3 months that I do it in. And then my revision is generally about a month to 6 weeks for that first big second draft, which for me is where all the heavy lifting is. That's where I'm really working on story structure and character arc, and trying to actually introduce story structure and character arc, because generally, no matter how hard I try at a first draft, I don't insert anything good. So that second draft is the really heavy lifting, but I really love it. That's when
I was gonna say, is that something you enjoy doing?
It's something that I had to learn how to enjoy doing. Like I said, I never knew how, but now I have kind of built myself a toolbox for revision. And now I just know that first drafts will always confound me. I never know what a first draft is going to be. It could be easy. It could be the hardest thing I've ever done. But revision is always the same. Revision, I get out my tools of a sentence outline, and I use the Post-its, and I do these other tools. And revision is just something I can sink into like really deeply. First drafts to me feel like skiing down a very, very steep hill, and I'm not a skier. I'm just completely out of control. But revision feels, I don't know, maybe more like cross country skiing, where you are in control and you're making all the decisions. First drafts just scare me. I'm a control freak though. And in a first draft, you lose control. And in revision, you have all the control. So yeah.
Could you talk a little bit more about what's actually in your toolbox for the revision toolbox?
Yes. In fact, I'm trying to think of, if you go to if you just Google how do you write, which is my podcast, and Rachael and revision, one episode will come up that is a chapter from my book, Fast Draft Your Memoir, which is the class I taught at Stanford. And it's everything I believe about revision. But so and that's just free. Just go listen to that. But my tools are, I basically read the book very quickly. And I don't read it. I skim it, and I write down a kind of a bullet point outline of everything that happens. And then on top of, and I don't ever mark inside the book. You know, if I print it out, I'm not marking inside the book, because I think we've all had that experience of like reading over your work, and you're circling that sentence, and you're circling that, and then you make yourself a great idea here, and then you don't know where that great idea was. So whenever I have a great idea, when I'm doing the sentence outline, I make a Post-it, put it over here, so it's all collectible in one place. And then I look at the sentence outline, and that's when I'm really looking for story structure. That's when I'm looking to see if my inciting incident is strong enough, if my context shifting midpoint is there, if my dark moment really has to do with the theme and with this character's arc, and she really is losing the thing. She's sacrificing her everything that is anything to her for a reason. And if it's not, then I start kind of scribbling all over that sentence outline and making the plan of action for the revisions. Okay. And I'm making Post-its this whole time. I worship at the Church of 3M Post-it. I really do. I keep them in business, and I'm usually at my desk, and I could just flash them.
Are they lined or are they plain?
I like the little 2.5 by 1 inch little ones, all colors, different colors. I don't color code anything. It's just whatever's like in my bra closest to me. That's the Post-it I grab. Yeah. And by the end of this, right before I start revision, I probably have about 100 Post-its I usually keep it in a binder or something like that. And
everyone's got Post-its. I've got like 3 packs of them somewhere around. Yeah.
At hand. And my kind of secret weapon is that whenever I sit down to work on this revision, I skim my eye over those 100 Post-its or however many there are, even if I have Post-its. And Post-its are beautiful. Oh, you're so nice to let me do this about Post-its. Post-its can hold the tiniest idea, like she doesn't order a burger, she orders a pie. Right? Or it can have the biggest idea, like she has no brother, she has a twin sister, and that's the change you're going to have to make. So, but they can all be kept on those Post-its. And when you look at all your Post-its before you start work for the day, you might be reading Post-its that have something to do with the end of the book. Great. What that's doing is it's priming your brain now to have in the back of your mind something about the end. And that means when you're in chapter 3, you're revising chapter 3, you go, oh, I do know that at the end I want the bridge to fall. So can I put a bridge scene in now? Should I move them from the playground over to the bridge? Because that's going to echo later, because you're always reminding yourself of everything you're doing in this book. So those are my secret weapons, the sentence outline, and then that pack of Post-its. And then I do the same thing with the second draft that I do with the first draft. I work from the beginning to the end. And every time I have a brilliant idea, I just make another Post-it. Because if I have a brilliant idea, she needs a twin sister instead of a brother, and I'm at the midpoint, and I go back to the beginning of the book and I untangle everything and I rewrite everything to make her have a twin sister. And then I get to the dark moment and I realize, oh no, I remember why she had to have a brother. Now I've got to go do it again. So what I do is whenever I have a great idea, and I do this first draft, second draft, third draft, whenever I have a great idea, I type it into the all caps into my document, and I'll say, now she has a twin sister, and I write forward as if everything behind me I've already fixed.
Nice.
Therefore, I don't really have to adjust anything moving forward. I just know that when I get back to that, I will fix it all the way up to there. Does that make sense? I think
makes total sense.
Very in a squirrely
I do that.
Yeah, it's so. Isn't it helpful?
I mean, I write on when I realize where I'm at. Yeah.
Yes.
So you don't do any plotting at all?
Oh no, I try very hard to do plotting. Even when I plot something out intensely. My last book was plotted intensely with my agent and my editor, and it still totally failed in a first draft. And in the second draft, I was like, well, nope, I'm gonna have to start this one from scratch. And my brain rebels, and I have a hard time seeing what a book wants to be. Cheryl, are you a big plotter?
No. I have tried, and I wish I could, because I know it would save me time. But I do actually, too. Like you, the book just goes in a different direction. So it seems like a waste of time.
Exactly. Trudy, are you waving your hand because you do plot?
Yeah.
Shall you plot as well?
I've tried to do less, because I can end up plotting something that can become a procrastination tool in of itself.
Yeah.
I've got a question though, going back to Post-it notes. Do you have them on a white? Sorry,
why did we know that she would want to talk about the Post-it notes?
Stationery addict, and every a true writer, when you go into the bookstore and you're going for the stationery section as well as the book section. But do you have them on a whiteboard, or do you have them on a board, or do you have them on within the manuscript itself, printed out?
I have them always all together so that I could be constantly touching them and moving them, so they're not inside the manuscript. Because I think there's something about using the your tactile senses that also trigger something different in your brain. And I just have them in whatever journal, usually in my bullet journal, whatever my bullet journal is at the time.
Yeah.
And so right now my bullet journal is kind of thin, so I can only go 2 across and 6 down. So I have pages and pages and pages of them, but it's satisfying just to flip through them. But I have had them on a whiteboard before, and that worked well too. But for some reason, like just being hunched non-ergonomically correctly over my desk, like studying Post-its, just really makes me very happy.
I found that if you had them on the whiteboard or a corkboard, it's actually having to move to it.
I don't
and then come
go
back
there.
to, and it's just
I could not possibly take those 3 steps. Oh, and the other thing, my brain
It's
doesn't
so
remember.
far.
I'll do it later.
This is my Post-it note.
Do you use your phone?
No, it's a little,
it's a little moleskin.
a little book. Yeah.
Wow, that is perfect. I love that. And that's where you put your notes?
So I get to 30,000 words, and then when I start, and then I rewrite the first 30,000, and then I'm ready to go. But that's the notes I make that I write. Yeah. And
I love that. I love it.
First 30,000, and then she throws out 20,000 of the first 30,000 and then rewrites it based on the notes that she makes in her little note.
I think that is so smart. I love that.
It's taken like 40 books to get there.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys, we've talked so many times. Trudy has stayed on the phone with me, and Cher has tried, and Shah has tried. Let's get you plotting, because I so want to, because my mind is like this. It completely blocks me.
Yeah. There are those, I try to kind of have the inciting incident, the midpoint, and the dark moment. But even those 3 points are so wiggly that if I think I have them one night, I wake up in the morning and go, well, that's not going to work.
Yeah.
So
she doesn't do things like that.
Exactly. And I love what you said, Shar, about the procrastination. I can use that as procrastination all day. I can't even say the word procrastination all day. And it just always comes down to me. And I remember this every time. It's just like, you just got to put your butt in the chair and do the work, and you'll figure it out later. Because I could think about my books forever.
Oh, they're all perfect in the head, aren't they?
Oh,
like
they're
they're
so
all
good.
perfect. They're so good. You know, if I could just like plug in somewhere like a USB thingy, or these days a lightning thing, and just like download it all, man.
And then you read a book that someone's written, and you go, that is so good.
Yeah.
Oh no, how am I going to get my book that good?
And why is it that when we read those perfect books, we all think to ourselves, I know I do, that like, this probably only took her like a draft and a half. Like,
how can someone write something?
It was just gold. It was just gold as it came out.
that day. I'm sure it did. Yeah.
I've been known to just close it and go, I can never be like that. Like we're all like that, aren't we?
Yeah.
Crazy.
It's so good to have community like this. So like, because I have a couple girlfriends that I just quit. I quit writing when I'm in an active first draft, which is just hell for me. I quit writing at least once a week, and I'll email them and I say, I quit, and I quit forever. And I always mean it. And they always go, okay.
Sure.
Yeah, you'll be back. But
it's a process. I always say to these guys when I finish, I hate that book. It's terrible.
Absolute crud, and nobody's ever gonna like it, and it happens every single time with their books, every single time.
Cheryl doesn't do that, and Trudy doesn't do it though.
Well, no, I do.
I
just don't do it so openly.
Yeah, it's the worst book I've ever written.
But you know what? Having said that, there are those golden moments where you're writing something and you're like, oh my God, this is so good. And you get prickles and you're in the zone and you can't stop writing, and it just
we live for that.
Yeah. I want that
so
every day.
Every time I write.
Pill for that.
Yeah.
If that is what, forget all the other author services. If they could make that into something we could
do
buy, I will buy it.
Yeah. Yeah.
If only there was a pill.
Yeah. I know.
It probably is, but it's probably not legal. So we probably
it might.
Yeah.
It might be bad for our health.
Yeah.
Yeah. We
could.
couldn't function on a daily level, probably.
No.
So
That's
do
a
you
dream.
have any? Sorry, Cher.
That's right.
Do you have any other kind of anti-procrastination things? If we're talking about it being fear and
yeah.
What other things can people do to kind of get out of that, I don't know, mindset of procrastination?
So the fear is really kind of this high level of looking at it. we understand that we have fear, and that's why we put off writing. But on a micro level, on an actual getting your work done, getting your butt in the chair, I find there is nothing like actually boxing yourself in. Going to a cafe where you don't know the Wi-Fi password, leaving your phone at home, you get a coffee, you don't know anyone there, you don't have your phone, you can't go online. Eventually you're going to write because you get so bored. I do also believe in putting yourself in the zone, and I'm sure all of you have your own ways of doing this, whether it is a certain playlist that you have not procrastinated too much, but maybe spent half an hour building, always having the same kind of tea, same kind of coffee, same kind of smell around. Also having a check-in, any kind of check-in buddy, even if they don't respond back, but somebody that you send a text to, it says, okay, I'm going to go write for 45 minutes. And then at the end of the 45 minutes, you write to them and say, okay, I did it. I think the most important thing for me is just remembering that it is something we have to recommit to. For me, it's basically a weekly basis, if not a daily basis. I think some writers feel like when they make this decision to write, they've made the decision and they're never going to have to make that decision again. We have to continually make again and again writing the priority. And that's why I like to do a bullet journal at the beginning of the week. It's not even about the to-dos on the list. It's about me remembering that, oh yeah, on a good day, I want to get 2 to 3 hours of my deep work on whatever project I'm working on done. After that, I could do podcasting, I could do Slack, I could do email, I could do all the other things. But I'm such a bear of little brain that I will just forget. And I'll get up and walk to my desk and do email and do Slack and completely lose the day without remembering that the most important thing to me is being a writer and doing the work. And we really can do the writer's work in 1 to 3 hours a day. Would you all agree with that?
Absolutely.
I've written whole books in just like 45-minute chunks 3 or 4 times a week. It just gets done if you just keep showing up. And I think that a lot of writers are also very impatient, and we feel like, well, we should just be able to get this book done. But no, we just get it done in 45-minute bursts, and it will eventually be done. So reminding ourselves on whatever basis that looks like. For me, it's weekly. Then I need to make sure that my week holds those slots and that I at least attempt to get into those slots when I can. And the other thing is that I try to remember, because I'm really bad at it, I tend to beat myself up a lot for not getting the work done that I said I would get done. So for me, it comes down to planning, recommitting week by week, and also forgiving myself week by week. I never get done everything that I want to get done. And instead of beating myself up, I like to remind myself that I'm just a human being and I'm doing just fine. This is my full-time gig. This has been my full-time gig for a little bit more than 5 years now. And how cool is that I even get to say that I'm doing just fine. And I do not need to self-flagellate in the way that I want to, because I didn't get 5,000 words done today. I never get 5,000 words done in a day, by the way. On a first draft, I'm lucky to get 1,500 words a day, and then I'm just toast. So making the plan, recommitting to it, and also coming at yourself with a deep level of kindness. Elizabeth Gilbert has this quote, and I'm going to butcher it a little bit, but I think I almost know it by heart. It's something like, as a writer, the thing you need most is self-forgiveness, because you will always disappoint yourself and your writing will always disappoint you. So it all comes back to self-forgiveness.
That's a very cool quote.
It's kind of sad, but
it is sad.
Although I do heartily agree with this whole idea of self-kindness and forgiveness, because I think, and if you actually wrote down everything that you did achieve in that week, you would a significant amount.
Exactly. That's the key.
I learned from a student, we all have to-do lists, or some of us do, not all of us, but I have a to-do list. She has a ta-da list.
Yeah,
Ta-da!
I do that.
And I list everything that I do. And actually it gets tiresome. I'm like, oh my God, I did so much that I got to write it all down. And it feels great to look at that. That actually changed a lot about how I treat myself.
I'm a huge planner. So I'm an Erin Condren girl. not a bullet journal.
Yes.
My newest toy is from Japan. These pens with round tips, so I can do round. But
Where do you get
my
those?
entire life, I'll send you the link.
Please don't ask her things like that, Rachel.
We could be here
Please
all day.
This is only meant to be a short, an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have things in my planner though,
Yeah.
but instead of writing to-dos, I write my to-dos that I've done, and I keep my to-dos on lined post-its, and of course my coloured pens color coordinate.
Yeah.
Coordinate.
Identify. They coordinate what feel, because I'm kind of got a portfolio job, so I do different things, and so that way I know immediately if it's blue, it's client work or whatever.
But just don't mention puffy stickers.
No, we won't go into stickers, and we
She
also
loves
won't go into
puppy
the
stickers.
giant jar of washi tape that I've got as well. However, but ta-da, it makes such a big difference. Instead of looking open your planner and seeing, if you're like me, that you have got a master's in self-flagellation, it's so much more empowering looking at seeing what you've done than it is what you have to do. It's a big shift.
You just blew my mind of keeping the to-do list out of the planner, because that's the thing that gets me down.
Yeah,
I
it's
am
on my
going to do
post-it
that.
and it's on my
Yeah, you have it.
But I have it, and then I can still check it off, because you've got to do that. That's an important part.
I have to go right now. We're done with this podcast because I have to go redo my. Okay, I have to make a confession to you, because now you're my best friends. Before moving here, I don't know how you can do this. I spent $34 on gold star stickers before I left, because in my
on stars
on just gold, like sparkly stars, because in my mind I was like, well, what if New Zealand doesn't have them? I need to get, and I realized
Shah has just met her kindred spirit, basically.
Downside, I mean, we have, let's face it, we're in like what they call it, God zone down here. I mean, we're just so lucky to live here. The downside, however, is that postage is horrendously expensive. So I won't even tell you how much I spend on air and conjuring once a year. I won't even tell you.
Let's not do that. No,
let's not go there. But Amazon still delivers here. Just saying. So you will pay a little bit
available
more
in shops. I just want to make that
but
clear.
you can.
And
we have great stationery shops. We do.
I'm like that husband when I go out shopping with Shah to a station. I'm like the one who sits outside on the seat
with your newspaper,
with my newspaper, and I'm just like, are you done yet, dear? I kid you not.
Bucket list item now is to go with Shar to a stationery store.
I don't care how much you pay me or offer me lunch. I'm not coming.
There's a very good we're getting off topic.
Anyway, let's talk about writing.
Okay,
talk about procrastination.
We talk about cross genres, because you're writing quite a few genres, aren't you?
Yes.
How does that work for you?
I have like sparkly object syndrome. I just always want to chase something new and unique, and different to anything that I have chased before. And I will always say very clearly that if I had stuck to romance, and just stuck with romance and done series, I think I'd be making a lot more money than I am now. But while they might hear my partner sneezing, it's a very small room.
There was a dog barking.
Bless you.
Bless you.
Hilarious. Oh my God, how funny. But where did I? Oh, so I went to memoir first. And that was kind of an easy shift, because I moved from knitting romance into a knitting memoir. And it was basically a collection of essays of my life seen through the lens of what was on my needles at the time. So I wrote about the shawl I knitted for my wedding, the sweater I was making when my mom died, those kind of things. And then from there, I was like, oh, this is fun to do other things. So then I went into contemporary mainstream. Thriller was something that came to me just because I love reading thriller. I love being scared, and not like, I'll read a ghost book, but I really want to see somebody terrible doing something terrible and then getting punished for it. I will watch true crime all day. And so given a chance to write thriller, I came up with an idea that I really loved, and my agent sold it to it was Penguin. But I have to say that I think at my heart, at my core, I am a women's fiction / romance writer, because even the 2 thrillers that I've written, I turn in women's fiction novels And my editor says, can you put like, there's so much love. I need more stab. Like, so I would have to literally take out the
Make someone hurt.
beautiful scenes. Yes. And really amp up the tension. So the fact that this particular thriller isn't selling at all, and I probably, shot my thriller career in the kneecaps, I don't care. I want to go back to my roots. So, so a long-winded way of saying, sensibly, I probably should have stuck to one genre, but I will never regret doing as many genres as I want, because that's so fun. It's so fun.
That's good. That's a good story, I think. It kind of puts things into perspective. So it depends what you want.
Yeah.
Depends what you need is what you should be writing.
It's all part of the journey, eh?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so we're rolling along to the end of the interview now, but I just have one final question, and that would be, what is the one piece of advice that you want to give to our listeners? The one either for self-publishing or just writing in general, like just one piece of advice that you think is the most important thing for people to take away.
When people ask me this, it always changes, but today my answer is perhaps write a little post-it and put it on your computer that says, don't wait. Don't wait. And that kind of encapsulates the idea about procrastination and fear. Don't wait until you have read the next craft book so that you understand something that you heard on a podcast a little bit better. Don't wait till you get to be a better writer. Don't wait until you have a better idea. I truly believe that the muse, whatever the muse is, whatever that source energy is, comes to us when we're writing. And that's why I'm not a very good plotter, because when I'm just sitting around plotting, nothing happens. I can't figure out anything. But when I'm actually writing terrible words, terrible sentences, that is when the muse visits and taps me on the shoulder and gives me a really, really good idea. And it's because I didn't wait. It's because I just sat down for my 30 minutes a day where I was going to put my butt in the chair and do something. And something happens, something rises up inside you. So don't wait.
Yeah. Wow. Good words.
And that's something that everybody can do. Plus it involves post-it notes.
And once it involves a post-it note. Exactly.
Everyone's a winner.
Except for me, who doesn't like them that much.
Okay, so from Shar, I'm getting stationary advice, and Wendy, I'm going to need some rugby advice. So I need to learn something. Yeah. Okay. Perfect.
Who knows what the hell you get from me? And
already.
Well, let's be honest, Triddles. She said shiny new object.
Yeah.
That's
true.
I did see your eyes light up when I said that, Judy.
All about the shiny objects with me.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's end the podcast. We are actually finished with talking, but thank you so much for joining us here today, Rachel. It's been a delight. It's been fun.
And where can you be found, Rachel? Where can our listeners find you?
You can find me in two good places. How Do You Write the Podcast? And also I have a pretty good a series of emails for writers, and I just send encouragement to writers, and I'm passionate about doing it. And you can sign up for that at rachelherron.com/write.
Awesome.
Cool.
Shah, we can be found.
We can be found at spargirlspodcast.com, and we are also on YouTube, and we're not on Instagram yet, but come along on Facebook as well and let us know when you have written your don't wait post-it note.
There you go.
Maybe you wrote it while you were in the bathroom, because that's what I hear. That's what I do in New Zealand.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me. It's truly a delight and an honor to
lovely to have you. Thank you.
Wonderful.
We hope to see you soon in person.
Yeah.
And thank you all to our listeners for joining us again for another episode of the Spa Girls podcast. We'll be back again next week. But for now, farewell.
Keep well.
Bye.
Bye.